Hi, I'm Joe from ERIK'S, and today we'll be talking about a new brand we're proud to partner with, SCOR. We'll go through the brand's mission, history, tech, who this bike is made for, and more. It's game time, so sit back, relax, and find out the score.
Eric the Bike Man!
Since 1977, ERIK'S has focused on giving you the best possible experience and most fun possible in your outdoor activities. Part of our success here at ERIK'S is the ability to partner with brands that share an honest passion for the sports we love. SCOR does that. These bikes deliver fun, and it's because of this we're here today. And not only do we talk about bikes, we also ride them. Who is SCOR, you ask? SCOR is a newer kid on the block that started in 2021. Their ethos is all about having fun while riding. Their current line includes trail, enduro, and electric mountain bikes. They design their bikes for riders who want to have fun and express their passion for riding and creativity to play the terrain. SCOR is based in Switzerland and was born out of a passion from two friends who design and engineer for their parent company BMC. BMC is known for efficiency, climbing well, and of course creating speed. But these people wanted something different. They wanted to strip away the excess and get back to the basics. They wanted bikes that are made for good times and not for lap times. They wanted a mountain bike that was focused on fun and that would push them to their limits, whether on steep tech trails, seasoning booters at the park, or ripping through the single track. So with their free time, the resources of the R&D team, and their in-house manufacturing capabilities, they literally started the framework for what could be possible. The last thing these possibilities needed is a place to test their mettle and their boundaries. That proven grounds are the Swiss Alps, a place that allows you to climb into the clouds and descend back down into earth. Now we're going to dig into SCOR bikes more and bring in Joe, the bicycle purchaser here at ERIK'S.
Hi Joe, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, Joe. So tell me, for our first question, why did you bring SCOR into ERIK'S?
Yeah, so I've been following SCOR for about a year now since they launched. And it's been a very interesting brand that they've been boiling down mountain biking back to its roots and really focusing on fun, especially because of the origins for these engineers from BMC. That is a brand that's really focused on creating speed to kind of unbutton a little bit, have some more fun with it, and create these bikes that are really simple, that are really focused for the rider and just simply fun all the way around.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I got to try out this bike and it was very fun, very stable, and very adjustable. Speaking of tech, let's dive into it now. The lineup of all the bikes share quite a few of the same tech traits. Can you tell me about them?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple different traits that are shared across the three different lines, which are going to be enduro, trail, and electric. We have accessory mounts on the frame, both within the triangle and outside. The down tube protectors on these bikes are really unique as well because they carry a spare derailleur hanger in them.
And it's actually molded into the down tube, so it's not going to rattle around, it's going to be there when you need it, and it's just an awesome added protection.
And the chainstay protector that is across the bike is actually modeled after one of the jump lines at the Chaumont Bike Park that's in the Jura region near BMC headquarters, where these engineers ride quite a bit and got inspiration for SCOR. Another cool part of it is the adjustability of the frames overall. So they actually all have an adjustable headset cup built into all the frames that you can adjust the head tube angle and the bottom bracket height, and it has a lower link activated shock.
And we'll get into that a little bit later with Sam.
Following along the same unbuttoned and simplified lines that SCOR has as a brand, the aesthetics on these bikes are really stripped down, very understated, and really clean looking all the way through.
And since we're talking about looks and protection, I do want to bring up their partnership with Slicey. Slicey is a company that makes frame protection that you can customize. You'll protect your investment while also customizing your steed. Let your creativity and individuality take the handlebars or the frame. It's not just protection, it's also style. Style that's replaceable and fun. So let's dive into the bikes, Joe.
Absolutely. Along the same lines that we've been talking about the entire time with a minimalist theme and really simplified branding, SCOR has one line total that they have a short travel and long travel options for. So their main model is called the 4060. It's actually named after the two different travel options for the frame. So you have a 140 millimeter travel frame in the short travel or a 160 travel frame for the long travel. The short travel frame is going to be more trailer oriented, and the long travel frame is going to be more for an enduro oriented ride. Both bikes come in a GX or an NX build option, so there will be 4 different model options all around for the acoustic bikes as well as a frame set option.
Acoustic bikes. Let's talk about e-bikes now.
Yeah, absolutely. So SCOR offers an electric offering in both of the short travel and long travel option. Both of these model options utilize a Shimano step system that have a Shimano EP8 motor. That EP8 motor is going to offer you 85 Newton meters of max torque, which you can pair up and adjust using the eTube Project app. Given that it's a Shimano system bike, it has the full backing and support of the entire Shimano brand.
Now that we know what SCOR has to offer and that these bikes are versatile and adaptable, Joe, who is this bike for?
These bikes are for everybody. The 4060 system is really adaptable and versatile like we've talked about. So they have a bunch of different unique tech features that allow it to adapt and really change depending on where you're riding from, whether it's going to be the East Coast or the West Coast or here in the Midwest. The short travel is going to be a really lively, cushy, and fun trail bike. The long travel is going to be really planted if you're on those little steeper downhills as well, or if you're getting into the event space. And now with the Z-Line, you're going to have all of those awesome features, but with a motor system that is going to be able to extend your day longer.
Sounds to me like SCOR just offers a little bit of everything for a lot of riders.
Absolutely. Being the bike purchaser here at ERIK'S, I really look across a lot of different brands and ride a lot of different bikes. And it's been really refreshing to see the brand that comes from BMC, who's focused on creating speed and really race-oriented, to now rolling back, unbuttoning a bit, and focusing on rider first, simply having fun out on the trail, and allowing for miles of smiles.
So it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife of bikes, Joe?
It really is.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Joe.
You're very welcome, Joe.
And now we're going to send it over to Sam, and we're going to deep dive into some tech.
Thanks, Joe. And Joe. As the Joe said, I'm Sam, resident mechanic nerd, and I'll be walking you through the tech highlights of SCOR's 4060 platform, what they mean for you, and how to use them. Let's jump right into it, starting with their linkage design. One of the things that defines SCOR is their lower link activated suspension, which is the name for their rear suspension linkage design. The main tenets of the linkage that SCOR went for were a highly tunable design with the ability to run an air or coil shock so you can tune the feel to your liking, minimal chain feedback, active suspension while braking, and a low center of gravity to give you confidence to ride any type of terrain, and robust materials and engineering for reliability that'll keep you riding for years to come. Out of the box, the linkage provides a nice plush feel in the beginning of the travel for comfort and amazing grip, but gets stiffer or more progressive deeper into the travel to support you on those big sends. All of these factors together make the lower link activated suspension the most well-rounded and modern linkage design in the trail and enduro spaces, giving you the confidence to send any trail and have fun while doing it. To get the most out of any suspension platform, you need to properly set it up. Thankfully, most forks, including this one, have a chart on the fork leg that will give you a great place to start. Based on your weight with all your riding gear on, the chart will tell you a good starting value for air pressure. The shock is even easier. Simply take your weight with all your riding gear on, in pounds, and pump up the shock to that amount of PSI. These settings will get you rolling and can be tuned to your heart's content. Next, we'll take a look at 2 features that allow you to tune your geometry, change to a different suspension travel, or both. The first of these features is called a flip chip and is located in the linkage we just talked about. It's right here at the lower connection point for the shock. And for any bike mechanics watching, yes, I know the bike is in the stand backwards, but I promise it'll make it all easier to see. Anyway, we have a short travel or ST 4060 here, so the chip is in the ST position by default, but if you have a long travel model, it'll be in the LT position. Depending on which model you start with, this chip allows you to do a couple things. If you have the ST model, you can safely flip the chip to the LT position to raise your bottom bracket height by 6 millimeters. This will slightly raise the center of gravity and increase your ground clearance by, you guessed it, 6 millimeters. So you can make it over those technical trail features a bit easier. It will also allow you to put a shock with a longer stroke, which would give you the rear travel of an LT model. If you're curious, the ST geometry uses a shock stroke of 57.5 millimeters, while the LT, 62.5 millimeters. Now an important note, if you start with an LT model, you should not flip the chip to the ST position unless you also plan to switch the shock to one with a 57.5 millimeter stroke. Doing this improperly will cause the rear tire to rub on the huck plate and potentially damage the frame. So don't do it. Now let's flip the bike and move on to the headset cups. The headset cups on the 4060 platform have two positions labeled ST and LT, referred to as steep and slack respectively, and come set in the default positions that match their respective model. The indicator on the cups is this notch found on each the top and the bottom cup. Notches to the front is the LT position and notches to the back is the ST position. Changing between the two positions will change the effective head tube angle by about 1 degree. The exact angle is dependent on what your linkage setup is. The ST setup will change between 64.5 and 65.5 degrees, while the LT setup will go between 63.8 and 65 degrees. A lower head tube angle will be a slacker position, which is more stable at speed, but will make handling slightly less snappy. Perfect for going fast on those long descents and flowy trail sections. A higher head tube angle will be a steeper position that has more snappy handling, but is slightly less stable at speed. Great for climbs and navigating those tricky tech sections. You can safely switch between the two cup positions no matter what model and fork you start with. Which one you choose is all down to preference and your riding style. One important thing to remember is that these bikes are just as capable right out of the box, after being built of course. So don't be afraid to go out and send it. You can always tune and tinker later if you feel so inclined. Now that we're done with all the business, let's head to the party in the back. One final highlight to the customization of these bikes is the ability to run a mullet setup with little to no change in the bike's relative geometry. If you're unfamiliar, a mullet setup is when you have a smaller rear wheel than front wheel. Usually a 650B in the rear and a 29er up front. A mullet setup, generally, reduces weight, allows you to carry more momentum when pumping over a jump or through berms, and allows the rear wheel to be whipped around easier, if that's your style. Running a mullet will significantly change the geometry of the bike if it isn't designed for it. To compensate for this change on a stock 4060 ST bike, you can flip the chip to the LT position to raise the bottom bracket back up to its starting height. On a stock LT model, you can flip the headset cups to the ST or steep position to compensate for the extra slackness caused by a smaller rear wheel. A couple quick notes before I go. While the procedures are the same for the 4060Z e-bike models, some of the exact numbers like shock strokes do differ. We'll have links to all the details for the analog and electric versions in the description. If you're uncomfortable with doing any of this yourself but still want to switch up your bike, bring it into your local bike shop and they can get you set up. I hope you're all as stoked about this as I am because there's so much tech and adjustability in this frame. The 4060 can be personalized to your riding style, the trail, or you can just send it as is. At the end of the day, these bikes are about having fun and shredding. Now back to Joe.
Thanks, Sam.
No problem, Joe.
So now you've seen the bikes that SCOR has to offer. It's pretty simple. You get 2 platforms, 1 frame, 2 travel options. We explain the tech that makes SCOR an exciting new brand, like the adjustability of the Geo, so you can tailor the frame you want, the awesome lower link activated shock that gives you traction and control on your adventures, the extra hanger in the storage compartment, so you're always prepared, and let's not forget the aesthetic aspect. SCOR's quiet elegance to their carbon frame and shape, to the color options, and the ability to design and create style and protection for your frame with Slicey. These bikes are awesome because they offer something different. They give you the option to choose your own adventure, and that adventure is fun. Forget the spreadsheets and go ride the dirt streets with SCOR. Head over to your local ERIK'S for a test ride or check us out online at shoperiks.com. Thank you for watching, and if you like this, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to reach us, hit us up in the comments and be sure to subscribe. See you next time.